What's up, everybody? Welcome back to College Loop Podcast, episode 74 of the College Loop Podcast, and what is going to be a football-heavy episode. No Harrison Tarr today because his tire is blown out, and he's somewhere in Georgia on the side of the road. We don't know where exactly. He could have got kidnapped. We don't know. But, of course, that leaves Colin to step up to the plate in his place. And, Colin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. First full show on the loop. Kind of excited. Big shoes to fill, but I'll try.
And Daniel, how you doing, man?
Never been better.
Real quick and to the point there. And to get started, this has been a very football-heavy week, both in the recruiting and in some of the news, at least. Auburn has had three four-star players crystal balled to them in the last 24 hours, 2 for the class of 25 and 1 for the class of 24. Just starting off the class 2025, I'm going to start off with the edge rusher, Jakaleb Falk from Highland Home, Alabama, and, of course, went to Highland Home High School, 6'2", 225-pound, number 3 edge rusher in the state of Alabama, and the number 12 overall edge in the country. And then the last one, 2025, running back Alvin A-Train, which is a dope last name, or dope middle nickname. There we go. You got back-to-back classes where you got Fat Burnett coming in, and then you have A-Train. That's beautiful. And yeah, Alvin Henderson both those per 24/7 from Alvin from Elba, Alabama, Elba High School, 5'10", 180 pounds, number 1 running back in the state of Alabama, number 12 running back overall. But crystal ball, 2 4-star players from the state of Alabama to the Plains, and this is a breath of fresh air, if I must say. Daniel, what are your thoughts on getting 2 crystal balls to 2 big-time Alabama high school players?
Oh, man. It like you said, it tastes great. It's like how it feels when you put a piece of juicy fruit gum in your mouth, and it's so amazing for the first 10 seconds. Because I remember on early signing day for the 2023 class, back in December, first day of the loop, actually, I vividly remember tweeting out, like, okay, this is great. What we've seen today is phenomenal. Auburn football is on the right track. However, it would be so nice to see us be competitive with more of these state of Alabama recruits. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, we're not going to beat Auburn's not going to beat Nick Saban in Alabama. That's okay, whatever. But to lose to Kirby Smart, to lose to Florida, to lose to Florida State, to lose to Clemson, to lose to South Carolina, to lose to Tennessee, to lose to LSU, the list goes on and on and on. Like, those are all programs that Auburn has lost multiple races for in-state kids to in the past few years. So to see that happen less and less and to keep the at-home talent at home, I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, and Colin, I'll go to you now. How does it? What do you think is going through Cadillac's mind now that he is he's like running backs coach? He's the running backs guy, and how it has been for years and will be for years to come. Knowing that he's going to have about another year of Jarquez Hunter, 2 more years of Brian Battie. Damari Alston is still a sophomore, and then he has Fat Burnett and A-Train coming in 2 years. Just what do you think is going through his mind?
I think he's got to be excited. I mean, he's got just player after player coming in. He's got talent. I think if there's any room on this Auburn team that's like A tier, it's that running backs room. It's really just next man up. I also think that we've got just like all name team. Just coming straight from that running back room. A-Train is awesome. We're going to run the A-Train on people, and Jordan Hare is going to erupt with that.
Yeah, and if he's if history is to speak it for itself, A-Train is known for running through people. That's for all of you out there who've seen The Boys. So there you go. And last guy who got crystal ball, this was per on 3, 2024 cornerback Jalen Crawford from Lilburn, Georgia, Parkview High School, 6 foot, 185. Number 1 corner in the state of Georgia, and the number 14 overall corner in the class. And if the crystal ball were to come to fruition, I think LSU is also in the battle for him, if I read that properly. He would join 2 other 4-star corners in the class 2024 with Amon Lane and Jaden, nickname J Money Lewis. So Auburn's winning the nickname team for sure. But yeah, you're looking at, and you have Zach Etheridge, Crime Dog, which great nickname from a coach too. just picking up corner after corner after corner. And you talk about, Colin, you brought up the running backs being a complete unanimous A-tier position. What about this DB room? Just building beast after beast after beast and adding all these top-notch players to the roster. And as repeat my question about coaches, what do you think? How do you think these coaches feel just knowing that for years to come, your defensive back room is just filled to the brim with talent?
I think you need talent. You need as much as you can get for defensive back. Depth is so important for defensive back. And to have Auburn have 3 guys in the same class that are all 4 stars, let's say, God forbid, one of them doesn't pan out, you've still got 2 others. If one goes down, you still have 2 others. Like, you have what you need to get the job done. If you're bringing in 3, 4 stars a class, it's looking good for the DB room for sure.
Yeah, and to round out that 2024 class, you have 4-star Walker White, one of the top recruiters, not on staff for the Auburn Tigers, and of course 3-star tight end Martavis Collins, who, speaking of Mr. Collins, he has officially shut down his recruitment and will join Walker White's efforts to recruit more talent to this class. So basically, you could say that Walker White is like a co-recruiting coordinator for the Auburn Tigers. And Daniel, what does it mean just to have players of these calibers, like a Walker White and a Martavis Collins, just pushing and trying to get as much talent into this 2024 class as possible?
It's great. I mean, it really shows the effect of Hugh Freeze that he's bought in before he's arrived on the plains. Still has about, I think he's planning on being an early enrollee, so still got 6 months, give or take, before he arrives on the plains as a a football player primarily. I mean, let's just be real. So in the fact he's already recruiting guys to come play with him, we haven't seen that kind of buy-in from, minus Derek Hall, from guys who have been on the roster for the past few years. Currently, playing for the Auburn Tigers that day, they were not as passionate as Walker White is. So I think it's great. It's already paying dividends because other recruits will see that, they start doing the same. And then other players who haven't come into Auburn yet see, okay, this is a brotherhood I could be a part of. This is a big deal. These guys love the place they're going. They love their coach. They aren't even there yet. Let me go see what's up with this.
Yeah, and you back-to-back classes where you've had 2 guys leading the charge and recruiting other players from that class. You had Braden Joyner from Auburn High, and of course you had Jeremiah Cobb from Montgomery Academy last year, both actively recruiting other players from the class of 2023. There we go. And Martavis Collins, he is just, I believe, 0.01 away from being a 4-star on 24/7. So he's definitely going to get that, and that helps Auburn's case out because as it stands right now, with five commits to the class of 2024, 4 out of the 5 are 4 stars, and probably going to be working on getting to a 5-star. With, I believe, Walker White's going to be a 5-star by the time he leaves high school football, and Jamera Burnett might be very close, just depending on how that pans out. And then to get started on, the class 2024 is always a big talking point, but let's get talking about this 2023 football season. And Phil Steele, who I talked about in the last episode, who put Robbie Ashford as a starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers for this upcoming season, has officially released his full Auburn depth chart. And not a lot of big surprises on this. The offensive line is pretty much how we expect it to be, minus maybe Tate Johnson starting at right guard for the season, but we saw that in A-Day. You go to tight ends, Rivaldo Fairweather's there. Running back, Starquez. Not big surprises on the offensive side of the ball, except for maybe the wide receiver room, which, based on what Phil Steele is saying, his word is not complete truth in the Auburn football world, but his starters, of course, outside receivers are Camden Brown, which we expected, and Jair Shorter, the North Texas transfer, also known as the touchdown machine, from one of his highlight reels that came out. And of course, starting at the slot, not who I thought it was going to be, not Coy Moore, but Javarius Johnson making his return back to the starting lineup as a slot receiver. And if you go to the backups, I mean, Shane Hooks is going to be right behind Camden Brown, Amari Kelly, Nick Martiner is a backup, Coy Moore, Caleb Burton, the transfer, Jake Cruz making his appearance on this depth chart as the third wide receiver H, really. Just looking at the talent in this wide receiver room, just what can we expect from a year? And if we go off Phil Steele having Robbie Ashford as a starter, what does that wide receiver room do in the SEC? And I'm going to start off with Daniel.
I mean, obviously it's not the best. I mean, let's just call spade here. But it could be top 5. 5 or 6. 5, 6 to 7. I feel like that's a sweet spot. If everything goes according to plan, I feel like it'll be around that range. It'll definitely be better than what we've had the past couple of years. I don't think that'll be very hard to do. I think the 3 of us could go out, and I don't think it could get much worse.
I don't know.
So definitely the upper third of the SEC is, I think, realistically what we're looking at. The floor, I think, will be about that 8, 9, or 10 range, because the past couple of years it's been 12, 13, or 14, somewhere in there.
Last year, I would definitely say that Auburn at least always produces a top 14 wide receiver room in the SEC. That's the positive
Thank
note.
God for Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt actually may have had a better wide receiver class because of, I'm forgetting his name, not AJ Swan. I'm forgetting his name. I'll look it up later. But another surprise here on the defensive line, looking at a 4-man front, the 2 names you expected to see here, Jason Jones and Justin Rogers leading the charge up front. Defensive end, Marcus Harris, which pretty much expected that too. But the jack position, he has Keldrick Falk starting as a true freshman. And Colin, I don't know how much you've watched of Keldrick Falk, but just like what do you think a true freshman goes into the SEC thinking and just starting right away? What do you think's going through his brain?
I think that this non-con will be very important for any freshman starting on the defense, especially starting at edge on this defensive line, which has been a real struggle this offseason to get people to fill that role. But you're going to have to see how they play in non-con, and then I guess we'll see. What's the first SEC game on this?
Texas A&M at A&M.
At A&M too.
First game of the season.
Yeah, that'll be a real test for Falk. Playing in front of 100,000 people in Allen Fieldhouse will be tough. That'll be welcome to SEC ball for sure.
And the toughest position to watch this season is going to the linebackers. And it looks like Phil still has Cam Riley starting and Austin Keys lining up next to him as our starting linebackers. And Austin Keys, I can get behind. I think he had a very good spring leading into the summer. I think he has all the momentum to be the starting middle linebacker. Cam Riley, I don't know how I feel about it. We don't know what Larry Nixon can do. He was the big transfer we got from North Texas as well, joining Jair Shorter, of course. But Wesley Steiner backing up Austin Keys. And I got to be honest, we talk about it a lot and how bad we probably missed on Demario Tolan. He is not on this at all. Jake Levant is a backup on here, but there is no Demario Tolan at all, which we pretty much could have guessed. But yeah, I'd be baffled to see a huge step up from Cam Riley. I think he had a very lackluster season last year, and I would love him to step up. Would love it. But I would probably put Larry Nixon as the starter right now just because of the transfer. And the DB room, not a lot of surprises there. Your starters, Nehemiah Pritchett, DJ James, Caden Bridges, and Jalen Simpson leading the charge at safeties. And your nickelback, Keontae Scott, which I've seen there might be a mix-up between Keontae Scott and Nehemiah Pritchett in outside and nickelback. Oh, Demario Tolan's actually here on the star position. There we go. And specialist, big surprise here on the specialist. Oscar Chapman starting at punter, Alex McPherson at kicker, and, of course, the best player on Auburn's football team this year, Jacob Quattlebaum, starting at long snapper. So going into our question a little bit, that's might be a future first rounder right there, Jacob Quattlebaum. All right, and now to get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. We are going to, way too early, preview the UMass Minutemen as they come into Auburn, Alabama on September 2nd at 2:30 p.m. in a sold-out crowd, which it's not sold out quite yet, but it's fair to assume this game is going to be a sold out crowd. First game into the Hugh Freeze era. And fun fact about UMass before we get straight into it, they have a week 0 game versus New Mexico State, who is Auburn's
sure
week 12
do.
opponent. So that's basically a nice little film study right there for both teams. And the spread is currently Auburn minus 40. So
Yeah.
we pretty much saw that coming in general. But Daniel, I know you want to talk about UMass a little bit. I'm gonna let you kick off the charge here for a little bit.
Alrighty. So I kind of have some notes here that I prepared today. Obviously, or not obviously, but Don Brown is the head coach of the Minutemen. In 2022, the Minutemen put together a 1-11 campaign. So if they don't beat New Mexico State, it'll be quite a lengthy losing streak for the Minutemen going into the Plains. They had an okay defense last year. Their defense finished 55th in FBS in yards allowed with 369.6 per game.
Nice.
But they did give up 31.11 points per game, which was good for 104th in the country. Their offense did them no favors. They finished dead last in scoring offense, 12.5 points per game, and third from the bottom in yards per game with 265.8. So their key returnees, they kind of had a 2 quarterback system last year, kind of very similar to Auburn, where there really wasn't a guy. Gino Campiotti and Brady Olson. Fun fact, Brady Olson went to high school very close to me. Never liked him. Just kidding.
Well, from what I heard, UMass fans aren't the biggest fans of them because they went to the transfer portal this past season, or this off season. They finished 104th in the transfer portal rankings, 124th in overall recruiting. Picked up 2 quarterbacks, one from Georgia Tech, and I'm just gonna say his first name, Taysom. I'm not gonna even try his last name. He played at Clemson for a little bit. He was a backup to DJ Unyangalele. I probably butchered that one too. In the first year of him being the starter. And, of course, I think the starter is going to be Western Carolina quarterback Carlos Davis, who wasn't the best quarterback at Western Carolina, but also he played pretty tough opponents, as in they paid a lot of money to play Western Carolina, those top-notch teams. And he had a pretty decent game against Georgia Tech as well, if you get rid of the 2 interceptions. So you're going to the season – we're starting off the season with a team that, like you said, finished dead last in scoring offense. 129th in total offense. Rushing offense, they actually weren't bad at running the ball. 68th overall in the country, averaging 148.8 yards per game. Passing offense, there's the bad part. 126th in the country, 116.9 yards per game. And you go to the rushing defense, also did them no favors, 194.3 yards per game allowed running the ball. And, of course, their pass defense, somehow, in some way, some heavenly favor, they finished 9th in the country, giving up 175.2 yards per game through the air. And I guess if you want to predict the game, it's right there in the paper. You look at, they can't throw the ball, and Auburn's best defensive strength is the corners, and they can't stop the run. And right now, Auburn's best offensive weapons is their array of running backs plus Robbie Ashford. By land or by sea, the Minutemen will probably not put up a lot of points against the Auburn Tigers in week 1. But, I mean, overall, it's not a team that Auburn should be looking down upon. I mean, they gave, if I'm not mistaken, they gave A&M a little run for their money last year for a little bit.
They did.
It was, 20-3 A&M win?
Mm-hmm.
One? Yeah. So,
Do y'all care to know anything about Dan Brown?
Don Brown?
Yeah.
Second year UMass. He coached there from 2004 to 2008, correct?
Yep, a native of Spencer, Massachusetts, another little town in Western Mass. No one goes over there. Division I stops include Dartmouth, Yale, Plymouth State, Brown, UMass for the first time as a defensive coordinator, Northeastern, UMass, like Dylan said, in 2004 to 2008 as the head coach. Then in 2009 and 10, he coached. He was the defensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Maryland. He held the same role for UConn in 2011 and 2012. Then in 2013, he went to Boston College as a defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. From 2016 to 2020, he served as defensive coordinator for Michigan. And that's the highest profile job he's had. In 2021, he was the defensive coordinator of that awful Arizona team. And then in 2022, he took back over as the head coach of UMass. And another little side note, in 1992, he served as the interim baseball coach for Yale.
Nice. That's actually really cool.
A Massachusetts high school football coaching legend.
Well, from my history, I've looked up. UMass actually won a couple of FCS championships, and from the Twitter posts I've seen, prematurely joined the FBS ranks, and thus have not won more than 2 games in a season since like 2016, 2017. It's been a hot minute since UMass has been anything above terrible. And I'm just going to go around the horn for this because I think we pretty much hit the nail in the coffin about what this game is going to look like. And Colin, I'm going to start off with you. Just tell you again, the spread is 40. And I want you to give me a score prediction for who's going to win and by how much.
So I think I'm gonna pull a shocker here. I think Auburn will win. I think we're gonna see something. I think we'll see 65-10. 65-10 Auburn. Crazy score. 3 100-yard rushers.
You're getting real close to 2022 national championship numbers right there, or 2023 national championship numbers right there, 65-7. That team in Georgia over TCU. Daniel, what's your score prediction for Auburn and UMass?
Y'all remember that Akron game?
I do remember that Akron game.
Just that against a different team.
I mean, Akron and UMass are pretty much the same team, different shape, but I think Akron's a little bit better than UMass.
Yeah, and Akron, like, granted, they lost him a week before they played Auburn, but they were supposed to have a good running back.
Yeah, that game, he was decent, but he was going against the SEC caliber defense that year. Put air quotes on that.
No, that one was all right.
It was okay, but I wouldn't say it was like the top notch. 2019 Auburn would have not given up a single yard on the ground against Akron. And if I were to predict this game, again, I think I'm going to go with the just going to go unanimous here. Auburn wins. I don't think they're going to put up 65, Colin. I think it's very, very rarely happen. I think the fourth quarter is going to be pretty much run the ball, keep the clock rolling the entire. Honestly, just running clock the second half. And I think Auburn's pretty much going to put up probably 48 points and probably 48 to, I'm going to say 6. I think the third string defense gives up 2 field goals in the third quarter to wrap up the game in Auburn, Alabama. So that starts off the college loop saying Auburn starts off 1-0. So on pace for a 15-0 season, if you ask me, if you're going through the rest of the season like that. But yeah, that's our preview of the UMass Minutemen as they come into Auburn on September 2nd to start the season. Buy tickets. It's going to be a crazy madhouse at 2:30 in the afternoon. Will not be. I don't think it won't be at CBS. It'll probably be ESPN Plus more than likely. But yeah, and to kick off to round out this part, we're going to talk about our question from a fan, Gregorio Duran, 3355. Who is a long time fan of the show, giving us another banger of a question. And he says, looking at the upgrades to the football and basketball team this season, which team is most likely to have more first-round picks? And I think it's an interesting question. If you look at both teams side by side, of course you have more talent on the Auburn football to look at than you do on the basketball side. And Colin, if you want to show your entire face again, you can. But Colin, I'm actually going to start off with you. Who would be more likely to have more first round picks out of Auburn basketball and Auburn football?
So I'm gonna go football here, and I think this is strictly just from we got more chances with football. With basketball, I think you've got one guy, and that's Aiden Holloway, who I think has a chance of going first round, at least going into the season. Like, we could see someone do something we just don't see coming during the season and blow us out the water and play into first round potential. But I think football, I think you've probably got 2 or 3 that you could see going first round. I think DJ James is the obvious one. But so then you got your 1-1. I think we could sneak someone else in there. Like a Gunnar Britton type. on the O-line. Maybe Nehemiah Pritchett does something crazy, plays his way to a first-round pick. But
and if you go through, if you do like top two rounds, that's all you can really do with basketball. You have 30 picks in the first round of the NBA draft, 32 picks in the first round of the NFL draft, and Auburn should have had at least one player drafted in the first round of this past draft, and that being Derek Hall. And the Seahawks realized they got a steal. We talked about it 2 episodes ago, where he got paid a lot of money to play for the Seattle Seahawks. And Daniel, question goes to you now: which team, football or basketball, is more likely to have a first-round pick in the 2024 NFL and NBA drafts?
I'm just kind of have to retweet what Colin said. I mean, it's not like basketball has a Jabari Smith or an Isaac Okoro, or even like a Chuma. I know Chuma wasn't a one and done. I don't think, right? No,
I think he played. I think he's a red. I don't know if he's redshirt. He played one full season, really. I believe.
Okay. Well, anyway, you get the point. Auburn basketball just doesn't have a player like that you can point to and be like, first round draft pick. Football potentially could. They could potentially not. It's kind of a roll of the dice. But yeah, just more opportunity. I'm just gonna have to say football.
And I'm also going to go unanimous here with football. I mean, you look at it, basketball, I like you said, Colin, it's Aiden Holloway is probably the only for sure, maybe first rounder. And I mean, if Janai Broom were to have an outstanding season and then go to the NBA draft and combine and just pop off like he was doing it at the tournament, or what was it? It was like the G League tournament or something. And of course, I think Jay Will has now reached the age limit of getting drafted in the NBA draft. And after that, there's not really a lot of people that I could see just get drafted in general. But then you go over to football, the defensive back room already has 2 names right there. DJ James, Nehemiah Pritchett could definitely go in that first round. Then you go to offensive line, shocker of a position to go to. Gunnar Britton and Avery Jones both up there as well. And a defensive line you can go to. I think if Jason Jones or Justin Rogers, or not, I don't think Justin Rogers can quite yet. He maybe can. Yeah, he can. I think one of those 2 guys have an outstanding season. I think we also see one of those 2 possibly go, because if there's one thing NFL teams love, it's SEC defensive linemen. And that is the facts. And Colin, you're gonna help us here. Who is in their bag this week?
So yeah, for who's in their bag, I have to give it to women's golfer Megan Schofield. She just finished playing the Palmer Cup, helped Team USA get a win. She won all 3 of her matches there. So she's balling out, not just at Auburn, but on little tournaments in the off season. So she's keeping the work up.
And runner up to Miss the Queen, Darian Goborn, getting ready to start off her WWE career, which might actually get me to watch the WWE for the first time ever, watching someone that I've actively seen go out in the ring. And this is been a long time since we've done this. Auburn Twitter moment of the week, just so we can get Auburn Hockey involved in this, for absolutely tricking every single person that saw it. I believe it was 62,000 was the number I said, into thinking that Auburn was going to play at the D1 level in actual NCAA hockey. And of course, big ups to them. They're going to move on to D1 of the AAU. But that graphic, oh boy, was it misleading. And Colin, I'm going to start with you. Just initial thoughts of Auburn getting the recognition they deserve in hockey to move up to a level like that, but also the joking factor of tricking everyone into thinking that they were going to play in the NCAA.
Yeah, it's awesome that they're moving up. I think they're moving up with 4 other SEC teams. South Carolina, Bama, and a couple others are included. And so big ups to all of them. Hockey is a great sport, and I love seeing a little more recognition in the South. But that graphic, man, saying that they were D1, it's like, I don't know. You're spreading misinformation, and they're the kings of it right now, is that misinformation spreading on Twitter. Because it was just a big D1, and any person that reads that is just thinking straight, oh yeah, NCAA D1, that's awesome. But no, not the case.
And just to read the tweet, it says, "Get pumped, Tigers. We are thrilled to announce that Auburn Hockey Club is stepping up to the next level. Beginning this upcoming season, they will compete in the new D1 division of College Hockey South and AAU College Hockey." And the graphic, again, it's just the hockey team, and it's Auburn Hockey Club, big letters, going D1. And Daniel, I know your hand's up, but you're also muted. So if you want to talk, you got to unmute that mic, buddy.
I actually unplugged my mic when I jerked my arm and plugged it back in, but I was muted. So thank you for telling me, Dylan. But yeah, I feel like on this graphic, a couple things should have happened. On the graphic, they should have included the logo of this AAU college hockey and college hockey South. Like maybe up in the corners, just to differentiate from what they claim to have done. And in addition, I feel like, I know this is lame, I get it. Maybe they should have said in their tweet, like, just side note, we are not like NCAA Division I. Like, well, however you can say that professionally.
I mean, it technically says it, and if you go look at the Twitter pages they tagged in College Hockey South and AAU College. AAU is a pretty much right there that's not.
Do y'all mind if I take like 20 seconds on it to find a really funny reply to it? Like, oh, I can't wait to host like UMass or something and just read that. I feel like there's got to be one. And if there's not one within 20 seconds, I'll just give up.
Well, there's a lot of funny text and comments going along with Auburn moving up to a higher division of hockey. And that's turning Beard Eves Coliseum into a...
Steve M. Croft says, "Where will you play?"
Well, they've been playing in Columbus, Georgia for a long time. But I do like the thought of making Beard Eves a hockey rink.
Listen to this. Listen to this. From Bo Edwards at ILE372. Congrats. Looking forward to more Ice Dogs versus Auburn games in Division I, especially when our new arena gets finished. Oh, here's a good one. From Keith at Prater Keith. So does that make us eligible for the NCAA tournament? At Infamous Dad says, bruh, if only this was 2000. Man.
Yeah, and I mean, again, big ups to them for moving on up to the east side. But yeah, this is just not, they're not going NCAA. They're not going like officially D1 quite yet. But maybe in a couple years, maybe they will. And I'm always for growing the game of hockey in the South. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much the show. Let's start off. Who wants to go first? You know what, Colin, tell everybody where they can love you, find you, support you, and all that jazz.
Yeah. Just go follow my Twitter at Beyersdorf Colin, BEYERSDORF Colin.
He's got good content.
Colin 1L. You got a
1L.
I was gonna remember that, like Philip Montgomery.
We don't take two losses.
And Daniel, let everybody know where they can find you. And you muted your mic for that.
He muted himself again.
Was that on purpose? That was too quick.
No, it was not.
Daniel, go ahead.
You can find me on Twitter at Daniel J. Locke. You can check out my written work for Auburn Wire. Tomorrow, my predictions for Auburn's 2024 SEC slate will come out. So some very exciting stuff there.
And of course, I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. If you're watching, it's just right there. Just right there. And it's also in the description below. And if you're listening, it's at YABOI the Tank. And if you want to listen to the podcast, you have us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And if you want to watch us, you got us right here on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. Leave questions. Gregorio's taking up all the limelight from our fans because he loves asking those really, really good questions. And we love you, Gregorio. Thank you for all of the comments you leave. And if you want to follow us on social media, you got us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. No MySpace again. 1,000 subs to get a MySpace. And Daniel, you're getting a little close to under 20 subs left before you have to dance on TikTok.
Yep, already got it planned out.
And Colin, if the summer doesn't end quick, we might be getting you to do a little dance on TikTok as well if we ain't careful.
Hey man, if the loop keeps growing, I'll do a little dancey dance.
Well, of course, with all that being said, it's been the College Loop podcast.